Because we live in a world where wrestling pay-per-views seem to happen every single day of the week, Clash in Paris, the latest WWE international extravaganza, if you will, is here this weekend, this Sunday, in a very Euro time-friendly zone, which I, for the second week in a row, am very thankful for. Sorry, Americans. We get a couple a year. It's fine. We'll work it out. Not the biggest show on the calendar by any stretch of the imagination, but definitely a big show by virtue of the location, if nothing else. We know that the French fans are crazy for pro wrestling. It is frankly criminal that AJ Styles is not on this show after the serenades he was greeted with when he wrestled Cody Rhodes the last time we had a French PLE. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not here to predict matches that don't exist. I'm here to predict the ones that do. So let's get this thing on the road with the opener, maybe. I mean, who am I kidding? The Roman Reigns match is probably going to open the show, right? So he can come in, he can do his big entrance, get the crowd going, and then leave. Maybe take a shower, chill out, go home, whatever he wants to do. But John Cena versus Logan Paul. They've been allies previously on the John Cena retirement tour back when he was doing the heel run, which didn't quite work out the way things had intended when we initially got that wonderful angle, of course, at Elimination Chamber. Logan Paul is a pest, he's a menace, he's a nuisance. He's also not somebody that I don't think John Cena needs to put over on his way out the door. I'm a big believer in that way of doing business when someone is retiring, but this is not John Cena's actual retirement match, thank goodness. There will be more after this. So if you really want to maximize the rub that somebody gets from beating Cena right at the end, I do think he needs to win matches like this. So I'm predicting him. It's a pretty straightforward one for that very reason. Paul, the argument for him would be, well, he's going to be in WWE longer term. He is a part-timer, but he works a bunch of these things a year these days. He's a pretty regular wrestler these days. It's not like he's a one a year and done kind of guy. So he's around a bit more. He could use the win a bit more, yada, 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 all of that stuff. And while that is quite logical, I think that the Cena retirement is much bigger than Logan Paul's push over the next few months. So pretty straightforward Cena victory for me. But if you can make the argument for Logan Paul, do so in the comments below. Sheamus versus Rusev is up next, or Miro versus Rusev, as I tried to explain it in the office earlier, tripping over words like I have no idea what I'm doing. But this is the latest in their ongoing rivalry, where they've basically been inseparable between the ropes. They've bested each other in a couple of very closely fought, hard-hitting singles matches on Raw. Now, in Paris, we're getting a good old-fashioned Donnybrook. So it's a dressed-up hardcore match, isn't it? Let's be honest. But hey, look, it's a different environment for these two bruising lads to smack the crap out of each other. Now, this environment does complicate the finish I'm about to pitch to you guys, but I think this should end in some kind of draw somehow. I don't know how you get there. I don't know how you do that in a no DQ, no count out kind of situation. Maybe it could be some really silly thing where the referee's like, you're causing too much chaos, I'm calling this crap off. Either way, I think the most logical outcome for Sheamus and Rusev is the bar conclusion from a few years ago when Sheamus and Cesaro had the best of 7 series. They were inseparable by the end, and we ended up with the bar as a tag team. They were like, hey, we can't beat each other properly, let's join forces. It resulted in a pretty badass run for them. Apart from the whole losing to a child with Braun Strowman thing. But hey, look, the bar were pretty awesome, and I think that this could be a good way to do something interesting with Rusev and Sheamus. I think that Rusev probably needs something a bit different at this stage in his run. I've really enjoyed these matches, but they haven't quite gotten over with the live crowds to the same level. And he is in danger of losing his way just a little bit, which seems wild. He's only been back in the Fed for 4 months, but I don't think the reactions lie in this case. So something I'd be very much in favor of. If that doesn't happen here, if it doesn't go to a draw, maybe there's a decisive result here and then it's prolonged, but I do think that will be the end result of this feud. And I'm going with some kind of draw that a lot of people will hate on the PLE. Pretty risky, but I'm a risky guy, so let's do it. Becky Lynch and Nikki Bella up next, and I think that this is going to be a pretty routine win for Becky Lynch. It's been fun having Nikki back, but you don't know how long this run will last. You don't know if this is a full-time thing. Is it a part-time thing? Is it a couple of months and done for another few years type thing? Nikki has obviously spoken very positively of her experience and her desire to keep wrestling and stuff like that, which is really cool. Brie seemingly wants to come back into the fold as well, but apparently they don't like where her husband has worked for the past few years. So, hey, whatever. Who cares? We're not here to talk about Bryan Danielson. Look, this feud ruffled a few feathers on this week's episode of Raw. It was in Birmingham, England. Becky Lynch dropped a line about Ozzy Osbourne, who just passed away. That got a few people upset. I can understand where Kelly Osbourne's coming from with her public comments on the situation. But the match itself, did it add a level of heat to the rivalry? Not really. It wasn't a personal insult aimed at Nikki Bella, so, not something that throws wood on that particular fire. Maybe if Nikki Bella was from Birmingham, it might have, but I don't think she is. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But no, I think that Becky's going to go over here. I think she's had a really good run since she came back at WrestleMania. The instant heel turn on Lyra Valkyria was very effective in elevating not only Lyra in general through their series of matches, but the Women's Intercontinental Championship, which of course Becky has at the moment too. I do think there are other fish for Becky to fry once we get past this Nikki Bella match, but it's been a fun program and it's two massive names. It's going to be over. It's probably going to be pretty good as well. So Becky Lynch wins. Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed now. Roman is obviously deeply entrenched in this wider rivalry with Seth Rollins and his gang of individuals. Bronson Reed, Paul Heyman, the whole crew. Braun Breaker, I meant to say. Jeez, how can you forget him? He's like the most exciting athletic prospect in wrestling today. But all of that nonsense aside, look, this is the most one-sided match on the card as far as predictions go. I don't think there is a scenario that exists where the other person wins. I think that it is as sure a sure thing as you can get in all of pro wrestling, and it'll probably open the show for the reasons I mentioned earlier on. That's right, Bronson Reed is going to wipe the floor with Roman Reigns and add another pair of shoes to his collection. Taking the piss aside, look, Roman Reigns is winning this match. I think most people would pick that, unless there's some kind of screwball DQ thing going on. That being said, I don't even really see them going down the route of distracting Roman and maybe having Bronson pick up a banana skin type thing. I love Bronson Reed. I would love to see him win. Maybe if he hits like 5 tsunamis, he can in kayfabe. But I don't think that's happening. This feels more like a way of just keeping Reigns rolling before we get to the next big match for him, which you'd imagine is Rollins at some point. So I think he goes over here, and I think he gets his shoes back as well. I mean, who keeps another man's shoes tied around their neck, all that? They're really stinky and smelly. I bet that's not a nice experience, Bronson Reed. I bet you regret your choices, and you certainly will after this pay-per-view. Bonus entry here. We don't even have a match graphic for this because it's not a match at the time of recording. Maybe it'll be added on tonight's episode of SmackDown, which is just a couple of hours after this video comes out, actually. But Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton, it's been in the works. We had the angle last week where Randy Orton appeared from behind and hit Drew with an RKO. It was a wonderful bit of direction and camera work. And Dave Meltzer has reported on Wrestling Observer Radio that this match might be added to the show. So hey, we're going to predict it as if it is. And if it's not on the show, you got a bonus minute of me blethering rubbish. Either way, look, the line of reporting is that eventually we're going to get Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre. So if you're going to do Cody Rhodes versus Drew McIntyre sooner rather than later, which is what I would assume, you probably have to heat him up with a big win. This is a big win, and he's going to get that big win on the show if they add the match. It's kind of similar to the Roman Reigns one. There is a bigger match waiting for the babyface at the end of it. Drew's a heel, what am I talking about? There is a bigger match waiting for the winner at the end of this, and a world title match is certainly bigger than a trade. I mean, Randy Orton's a good win, don't get me wrong, but it seems relatively routine as Drew moves up in challenges for that world title. His 2025 hasn't been quite as strong as his excellent 2024, but he's still had a good year. I think if Drew can close it out with a really hot live wire program with Cody Rhodes, which has already kind of started, he will find himself in those year-end conversations once more. Drew wins if they add the match. And in what I think will be the main event of the show, the world title match, the world heavyweight title match, Seth Rollins defending against CM Punk, Jey Uso, and LA Knights. We got a bit of argy-bargy from these lads on Raw this week. Jey Uso just super kicked CM Punk in the face. It was really brutal. It was nasty. It was ugly. It was a shocking moment of betrayal from the Yeet Man to his ally up to this point. But there are no friends in war. That's not true. There clearly are. Allies exist. But yeah, it's a four-way. It's every person for themselves. All of those cliches apply here. And look, this has been a relatively straightforward batch of predictions on this video, my friends. But it continues here, I'm afraid, because I don't see how Seth Rollins loses this match. I think that eventually CM Punk beats him for the world title, but I think that the Rollins reign has been too short for that to mean as much up to this point. He's only had it for a few weeks. And I also think that doing that one-on-one would have more impact than doing it in a four-way that has two other dudes in it. No respect to those two other dudes. They are going to be super over, particularly in France. I mean, are you kidding me? The entrances for Jey Uso and LA Knight are going to be absurd on this show. And that's probably why they're in this match, to be perfectly honest. But no, they're going to do Seth and CM Punk one-on-one again at some point. It is bigger than this, and I think that's where the title change, if they should choose to do that, will make the most sense. Rollins, the theme of the feud has been Rollins annoying the hell out of Punk and getting one over on him. So the payoff should be the babyface getting one over once and for all on the heel when it matters most. It's Pro Wrestling Psychology 101, and I think that's what they'll go with in Paris. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree with my predictions? Do you think that they are completely mental? Do you have some other ideas? Do you think Drew versus Randy Orton will actually happen? Let me know in the comment section below. Enjoy the show, and I'll be back on Monday. See you later.